Welcome to another episode of Peace Pipe TV. We thank you so much for tuning in. We have a very special guest with us today. Sister, please introduce yourself.
Peace, greeting everyone. I am SatRah Anuket, the author of a book called From Fear to Freedom. It's about utilizing the 7 Hermetic Principles to shift past one's mindsets, habits, and behaviors.
Have to go pick that book up, support the sister. We have to support our own. The sister's a writer, a poet, a speaker, personal guide. She's a healer. Can you please go into, I know you said 9 generations of healers in your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually discovered and learned this from doing my genealogy and tracing back to my Chickasaw roots, where I got the names of great grandmothers and grandfathers, and then just learning about that they were shamans or they were doulas and they were healers. Even my direct grandmother, she was a nurse, and my great grandmother was a doula. So it's being a healer is something that is genetically innate within my DNA. Even when I was in my professional field, I was in medical devices. I was still, healing people on a physical sense. I've always been a spiritual person, or really connected to the earth and the cosmos. There was a point in my life where I did get very deep into Christianity, but Christianity is actually what freed me from Christianity was Christianity, believe it or not. So yeah, that's my generational story.
Now, what tribe are you?
So I am on my mother's side, we are Chickasaw, and on my father's side, they are registered as Cherokee, but in the actual documents and interviews and papers, and even from the words of my grandfather on my father's side, he said that we were Cree, but yeah, they were registered as Cherokee.
Okay. Where can they go pick up your book at?
So my book is available on Amazon, and in 2022, it was actually the #1 new release in occult sciences. It's an easy read. It's only 198 pages, but when it comes to mystical truth, like, it's simple. You don't need any more. It's simple, straight to the point. And I know people that say like they've read it 5, 12 times because they really use it as a guide. It started out as a journal for me in 2016, where I had a spiritual awakening from Christianity and realizing that there was a Jesus before Jesus. Like, I was reading something and I learned about Melchizedek, and my mom, who was a devout Baptist Pentecostal Christian my whole life, like, she was like a wealth of information. So I went up to her one day and I was like, who is that? And she was like, oh, he was Jesus before Jesus. And I was like, what? So I got into the Book of Enoch and the Apocrypha and studying other religions. And that's when I realized, like, oh, like, there's a common denominator with all these stories. But more importantly, they've been translated, they've been manipulated, they've been changed. And I was tired of the narcissism and the ego of spirituality and religion. And I just wanted to feel like, what is the truth? So in studying the stars and the cosmos, like, what can't man change? Like, man can't change gravity. Like, we're all subject to natural laws. So that is when I learned about the Hermetic Principles. And I just began to journal about them because I was in this narcissistic relationship with someone, and I was so successful in business and my career, had a global brand manager job, was traveling the world, making 6 figures, from my 20s. But when it came to relationships, like, I lacked the emotional intelligence, the ability to not allow my emotions to control my mind and completely hijack me. So I started to just want to get a deeper relationship with the creator and to understanding what the principles were by experiencing them myself. So I just started to write a journal about what mentalism was for me. And I would go on hikes for like 3 hours when I was living in San Antonio, and I would just get these divine downloads and this clarity about what my process is, what my journey was. And I just became a sponge. So it was a journal of my accounts of my learnings from the hundreds of books that I read, the neurologists, like Joe Dispenza and Neville Goddard and, Reverend Ike, like Wayne Dyer, like any kind of metaphysical, Eckhart Tolle, any book that I could get my hands on and read, like I would diligently just dissect and process them, because I'm a Virgo and I'm a Capricorn moon with an Aries rising. So, and I'm a 5 of clubs as well. So I have an interesting life path, and my glyph is a self-existing white wizard. So if any of y'all know some of the dialect that I'm speaking, then you understand like who I am and what it means for me to read and actually process information, but not just process it, chew it up, digest it, experience it, because Virgo rules the gut, and then implement it into my life. So that's really what my book is. It's a guide for you to implement and anyone to implement. And I kept it for myself so that I could heal, so that I could get in control of my life and start to manifest better relationships, because I was already using the laws. That's the crazy thing about it. I was already using the laws my entire life. And my brother reminded me of it. When I was 18, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a degree in international business and I'm gonna get a global job. And so when I left my medical device position in 2021, like feeling like, oh, I'm nothing now, right? Like, oh my gosh, like, am I having a midlife crisis? Like, what's going on? And he had a conversation with me, like in Jay-Z's verse, it was like, okay, go make another hoe. He was like, what are you doing? Like, you said that you were going to do this. He was like, then just create and say you're going to do something else and do it. He was like, you've been my sister your whole life, my whole life. And he was like, there's nothing that you've never said that you were going to do and you not do it. And it was like a come to Jesus, really like an oh shit moment for me. Like, oh, wow. Like, dang, like, not only did I need to be reminded of that, but you've observed me my whole life, and you're telling me a truth that I lived that I wasn't even aware of. So at that time, I've just been deeper and deeper into these principles, because they really have the potential to change your life.
Absolutely. Which brings me to my next question. How important would you feel like the esoteric is?
I think that the esoteric is extremely important, because, esoteric is knowledge within, right? It's above and away from the physical. It's metaphysical, but it's also introspective. And if you understand that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but we've just forgotten because of all of the societal distractions, and now with social media, everything is doing everything that it can to get your currency, which is your attention and your energy. So esoteric is important because you have to know and have the ability to have a different perspective, like using your third eye to view information and process it, and having the ability to go within and to self-analyze and learn from your life experiences, rather than just thinking that you just out here experiencing life and something else is in control of that happening to you. Like, there's nothing else in control of your fate or your destiny but you.
So would you say that we are, I know a lot of people are going to get mad when I use this word, but gods, would you say we're gods and goddesses?
Absolutely. I mean, that's in scripture, right? Jesus himself said, don't you know that ye are gods? I think that a lot of people misinterpret and misconstrue what that means, which is why, if you understood the 7 Hermetic Principles, then you would understand and know how God moves in and through you as man, as Jehovah God, as that person eventually becomes Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is a parable. It was a fictitious character that didn't actually exist. There's no proof that he actually existed. I just might clutch a little pearls, but it's the truth. Like Abraham, there's proof that Abraham existed because his story and his life was told in the forms of an allegory, where there are historical accuracies to his existence, but the moral and the lesson and the meat of the story, it had other takeaways that was multi-layered, so many deeper meanings to it, which is another reason why esoteric knowledge is important, because you got to be able to dissect and go into the deeper meanings and see the unseen. Like I call it like the wizard behind the curtain. Not everybody has the ability to access and see what's going up under there, but you need to understand how things work.
Now, would you say that our ancestors knew this? I know a lot of people, they'll say that, okay, we're Indian. Okay, so what's next? So do you feel that a lot of our ancestors utilize these principles here in America?
Oh, absolutely. Within studying religions and knowledge, and even learning about, the Chickasaw religion, for example, with Abba Bini Lee, and understanding other gods in the form of the concept of worshiping the sun, the elements. It's all the same. It's all understanding what earth, water, fire, and air mean as we are ether beings, and how we are connected and a part of it, and how we have dominion and authority to not only communicate and correspond with it, but to use it to our advantage. So I think our ancestors knew that. I think that they used it. They may have had different dialects and how they, described it just the same way. I'm from the West Coast, so there's certain words that I use that my best friend from New York doesn't say. Like, and she'll be like, "What?" I'll be like, "Oh, that's hella tight," and she'll be like, "What do you mean? Like, is it too tight on me?" I'm like, "No," like. So it's the same way, but if you are from that area and you understand what the meaning is. So for me, once I've decoded the meaning and I understand, like I get the bigger picture and overall, especially with some of the signs and the symbols, like it's all the same. It really is. So yeah, our ancestors definitely knew, and they were in tune with it, and that is what ultimately balance and harmony is. Even in the Hermetic culture, we call that ma'at. That's simply the law of polarity. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Why do you think so many people, like if they heard us speaking about this, they would say, "Oh, they're the devil, they're demonic"? Why do you feel like they think like that?
I think that a lot of people have been programmed, misinformed, and miseducated, and told that, the things that were from them innately, genetically, from their ancestors were demonic because they didn't want them practicing it. It's all a form of manipulation and an intent to divert you from your own truth. So yeah, of course, African spirituality is demonic. Of course, shamanism is demonic. Of course, but in reality, what they're doing, who they are is demonic. So when we think about and we understand the law of polarity and what that really means, then we begin to understand why it has been turned against us. Even like, Baphomet.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I got it right here. I knew it.
When I found out who Baphomet was, I was like, okay. Even the swastika or other signs and symbols. And so what I actually did, because I'm like, okay, they want me to stay away from this, but the Song of Solomon, the Book of Solomon, like it's the same author that wrote and translated, the other books. So if Solomon was deep into occult, like he obviously had an understanding and an understanding of darkness, right? And so you need both to exist. You have to conquer the darkness because you can never kill the darkness. So I read all those books, and I realized that it was just expressing and explaining the other part of the story. There was nothing like scary about it. Because there's spells in the Bible. Like,
oh yeah. Why do you feel like people hide this though? Like, this is very important. I'm super into this. That's why I couldn't wait to do this show. It needed to be done. And what better person to have than you? But why do you feel like people hide it though? They're so hush hush about it. Like, even so that the Masons had to put it in degrees.
You know, when I was studying Eckhart Tolle, or when I was studying other people, or even like, you know, back in the early 2000s, the law of attraction like became this big thing, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
everybody's buying the book and the program. And in my personal opinion, it's not really a law. It's only telling part of the story. And my grandmother, who was 5'1", the nurse, you know, she would sweet as pie, but would cuss you out like a sailor. In her training to me, first she said, no granddaughter of mine will never not know how to cook. And then two, no granddaughter of mine will ever do anything half-assed. So I would do stuff as a child, and if I was like halfway putting energy into it or halfway doing it, then she would make me do it over. And so I feel like a lot of people kind of half-ass tell the story, half-ass give you the information, because it's the same concept of spirituality where they're saying it from ego. It's like, I know something you don't know. I have more power and control over you. You know, the whole story of like Plato's allegory in the cave, right? Where they're able to kind of give you the illusion of part of the information, but they themselves don't know the whole story because it's not their information. So they're just as clueless as you are, and they're hoping that you don't know it, because once you know it and find it out, then what? Game over. So it's, you know, the life is a game, you know, Earth School. I think Wayne Dyer says that, right? We're here to learn. And so, you know, to know the laws is to know how to play the game. And they don't want you to know the knowledge, because if I were to give you a board game, right? Like, let's just go ahead and get into the laws, because I think this is a perfect way to just transition into it. If I were to give you a game, right? What is one of the first things you would ask me?
How do you play the game?
Right? Yeah. You'd be like, okay, well, how do we play this game that it is that you're wanting to play with me, right? You would want to know the instructions, the rules on how it works, the laws, and how to play the game. Well, when it comes to, oh, I see. Let me see. Let me fix this screen really quick. Hold up. So I want y'all to see this. All right. So when it comes to the game, right, or the rules or the laws, like, to play the game is to know the laws. And so the 7 Hermetic Principles, if you were to consider it, or even the Bible, right, they say the Bible is basic instructions for life. So these are the instructions, the rules on how this operating system works. Well, the Bible really, and the 7 Hermetic Principles are a manual for your mind. They are the natural laws that govern this universe, and how the entire universe is governed by this same law. And so the 7 Hermetic Principles are how God works, how God moves in and through you as God, as lowercase g, right? So the 7 Hermetic Principles, you know, they were found or discovered, you know, over 36,000 years ago, in the Emerald Tablets, you know, by Tahuti, or AKA Hermes Trismegistus, right? Or a lot of people call him Thoth. I intentionally mispronounced thought because Thoth is thought, which really takes you right into the first Hermetic principle of all is the mind, the entire universe is mental. And so understanding, when it comes to the first Hermetic principle, this law is really introducing you to who God is, because this law states all is the mind, the entire universe itself is mental. So if we know that consciousness is the only thing that has anything, does anything, moves anything, is anything. Like, someone had to think of something in order for it to be created, which is what is broken down at the beginning of Genesis, and the earth
Right.
was out without form, and the face of the waters moved upon the earth. Like, we're 70% water. That's consciousness, that's light moving upon the face of the waters within the imagination of the mind, because we all know the element of water is the subconscious, and that's what God is.
Oh, yeah.
So understanding the law of mentalism is that there is no creation or movement without thoughts. And my favorite metaphysician, Reverend Ike, he says that thought is the absolute power, that thought is the only power, that thought itself is actually God unmasked. And I think about that Future song, right? Like, mask off, mask off. Like, if we take the mask off of who God is literally thought. And so the play on words with thought, Tahuti, and word, and in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. What is the word? What is God? So that literally right off the gate, like with the law of mentalism, is telling us and letting us know that we are consciousness, and we're directly created to consciousness, and that's all there is. That is the only power that there is our consciousness. So the second Hermetic principle, the law of vibration, when we think about it, as we're moving through how God moves the mind, as the mind of God through the mind of man within consciousness, those thoughts, everything vibrates. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. That's the law of vibration. So we know that words, thoughts, they actually carry a charge, they carry a vibration. And just like brain waves, light waves, sound waves, because everything in creation has a vibration, has a wave, it's going to hold a specific type of frequency that has its own tune. That particular frequency is going to vibrate and permeate throughout our entire body. And what happens in there is where a lot of people get the whole concept of the law of attraction, right? Because like attracts like. So if I think thoughts of love, success, and money, then more vibrational frequencies of that I'm going to naturally be attracted to. So yes, we do need to be in control of what we're allowing our minds to think, because that's going to impact how we feel. Even scientifically, have you ever heard of the water experiment by Dr. Emoto?
Yes.
Okay, so you're familiar when you speak into water, and depending on the words that you're saying, right? If you're saying love, joy, success, then in that particular water experiment, it turned into these beautiful crystals and beautiful shapes. But when he spoke, hate and you're ugly and fear, it actually turned those water formations into mold and ugly crystals. So science has proven that what we say to ourselves impacts the shape that we're going to take, because our thoughts, even with science, they've been able to prove that our human brain uses 20% of our body's energy. So it literally true, the whole statement of where attention goes, energy flows. So if my thoughts are taking up 20% of my body's energy, and I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling depressed or anxiety, I don't need to go and take a pill as a chemical imbalance with my body. I need to understand functionally that those thoughts are releasing an energy, releasing a hormone in my body that are causing an imbalance. And unless I get in control and in charge of those thoughts, then I'm going to continue to feel this way. And so because your thoughts ultimately impact how you feel, how you speak, and how you act, which instantly leads us up to the third law, the law of correspondence. as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. As you are within, it will be expressed in your outer world. You will know them by their fruits. That's what this means. Like, have you ever met somebody where they somehow like always got some kind of drama going on in their life, but they don't seem to know why or how?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's like, it's you, bruh. Like, you know, because your soul is a universe. Like you are one verse operating in this entire harmonic scale of music. The entire universe operates on a harmonic scale of music, meaning that you are always corresponding and communicating and creating, whether you know it or not. Neuroscience has proved that the human mind has over 70,000 thoughts per day. When we're asleep, our subconscious mind never sleeps. We're always corresponding, right? This is the song that never ends. Like, that's a little, it's true, right? We're infinite. Like, there's no beginning or ending to consciousness. So it goes on to infinity. And your part, your verse is to only tune into and correspond with the God in you, because what you say to yourself, within yourself, about yourself, to yourself, becomes your reality. Like,
Absolutely.
so the name of the game as you're corresponding is concentration, right? When we was little, we'd be like, concentration is the game. Keep the rhythm. Yes, they keep the rhythm and concentrate, right? Because as a man thinks, so is he. And so if I understand that thought shapes thinking, which ultimately shapes my actions, and I know that all things come through you, because this is what correspondence is: as above, so below, as within, so without. So all things come through you, just like Jesus was trying to teach people in the story. All things come through Christ who strengthens me.
Yep.
I am a vessel, a source of something coming through me, because I know that what vibrations permeate throughout my entire body, and thoughts is the only power. A thought is the only thing that can actually manifest. So the question is like, what or who is influencing our thinking? Like, is it social media? Is it the news? Is it all of this noise that is trying to divert and distract you from focusing on the God in you and using these principles to create the life and the reality that you want? Because the kingdom of heaven is within you. So it leads us to the fourth principle, the law of polarity. And this is why a lot of people in spirituality and religion take things so literally, because they teach you the whole concept of the devil, right? The law of polarity states that duality is an illusion. The only difference lies degree. If you were to look at a thermostat and you see temperature, hot water, it's either hot water or it's cold water. It's still water, right? And so if we think about the whole concept of God and the devil, we have to understand that there are two parts of us. When we talk about shadow work, they're connected and they are on the same plane. They're just at opposite ends, like the cross. This is why we have to die to the cross, because this is the law of polarity. This is why God can't and won't kill the devil, because God is not going to cut off a lower aspect of himself. They think you're calling Baphomet the devil, but did y'all realize that Baphomet was God? Because what? I the Lord, do all things. Like in Isaiah, what was it?
Right?
Isaiah 45, I form the light, I create the darkness, I the Lord do all things. So if I am God, if Christians understood that God was the person who created the devil, and there's even a point in the Bible where God had called like all his children, he had like this meeting, and God was like, Lucifer, what you doing here? And he's like, oh, I was just chilling. Like, he had the freedom to go back and forth to heaven. Y'all don't understand what that means. So not y'all literally, like Christianity, right?
No, we know.
It's taking it literally, when we have to understand that God is basically saying, I, the subconscious mind, I do all things. I'm impartial. I don't discriminate. What was it Big Pun said? I don't discriminate. I regulate every shade of that. like without prejudice. So your wish is always your command. This is why if you say what in scripture would let the weak say I am strong, because that's the name of God. Whatever you say I am to be is what you are. So if you say, oh, I can't do this, I'm that, guess what? Okay, you're going to have more of that. So this is understanding that when it comes to the law of polarity, that we have a choice. We have to decide which part of the spectrum that we want to live on, but also understand and know that that negative aspect is always going to be there because it is balance. It is ma'at, which is why God can't kill the devil. And even in other ancient spiritualities and traditions, you know, we and Kemetic people, you know, take those deities literally. You know, Anubis, he was the god of the underworld, you know, weighing the heart of light and dawn, defending against chaos. He played a crucial role in judging the souls in the afterlife. And then, you know, even Shalut in the Mayan culture, these so many similarities, you know, where you have this character that's depicted of being a guard, of being someone that is a watchdog. And in Christianity, it says, be mindful, watchful, aware of your thoughts. So you got to be on guard when it is that you're choosing to what it is that you're thinking and feeling, because thoughts is the only cause and it is going to affect your physical reality. And so this is leading us to the second Hermetic principle, which is the law of cause and effect, that you are the cause and the effect of all that you see in your reality. You're not the observer of your reality. You are the cause of your reality, and then you observed what you caused. Because for every cause there's an effect, and every effect there's a cause. And so your thoughts that you entertain, the beliefs that you hold, your emotions, all of that are these unseen forces in this limited view that you have, because we can't see in the light spectrum, we can't even really see that much. So there's definitely things going on in the unseen, and they shape our entire world. So yeah, you are the cause and the effect. What do you mean you don't know why all this stuff is happening in your life? Like, let's trace it back to the root, because you'll know them by their fruits. This is the law of karma. This is Sanskrit for comeback, where every action has an equal and opposite reaction. What did Lauryn Hill say? Don't you understand, man? Universal law. What you throw out comes back to you, star. Like, you know, it's like a boomerang, cause and effect. So if we understand that the shift begins with us, because the cause of our thoughts is us choosing to entertain and to feel and to think those particular things. And it's, if we were to even think about it in terms of nature and our connectedness, I recently started to grow a garden last summer. And I've learned so much about human life and nature and how important it is to be mindful and watchful and a gardener of my inner. It's like, so if you were to plant an apple seed, you would eventually expect to get an apple tree, right? You're not going to plant a seed and expect to get a different kind of fruit. So this is understanding what cause and effect is. It is energy of and energy back. Whatever seed you plant and sow, you are going to get that. And that is E equals MC squared, right? That's so. And by energy of and energy back, this all eventually creates a ripple effect, which leads us into the law of rhythm, that all things rise and fall. Everything has a cycle and a season. Nature, you have a cycle and season. You know, you rise and fall. The pendulum is always going to swing back and forth. This is why in scripture it says the first will be last and the last will be first. Like, this is why we know we're in Aquarius now. We're on a new cycle and a new shift has begun, and it's always going to be in that way. This is how creation works within its rhythm. But so many of us are distracted from the days and the hours and the time changes and the calendar not being right. So we're out of sync with our own circadian rhythm, and we're in tune with things that aren't even of our natural frequencies. This is why it is so important for us to ground, to get back to those practices in those ways, so that we can literally recalibrate and harmonize at our own octave. Because when Jesus said, "Ye are gods, don't you know the Father and I are one?" He was saying that I'm a branch on this tree, but I know that I'm connected to this branch, and I have access to all its nutrients, its power, all of that. I am one with this creation, and so I occupy in my individualized space the vibration and the frequency of Ra and what that looks like in this harmonic scale. And where we go wrong at, and where a lot of us miss it, is the last law. And even in Genesis, it says, on the seventh day, God rested from all his works. And this actually, after he created them, because before that scripture, he talks about creating man and woman, or Adam and Eve. He's introducing us to the law of gender, and the law of gender is low key about to become one of my dating screening questions. And let me tell you why. Because there are men who do not like this. Because when I say all things have a masculine and a feminine energy, they're like, I ain't got no female in me, cuz, you know what I'm saying? That ain't even me. I'm like, your mom didn't carry you. You're not part of her genetic it has nothing to do with like your expression of being feminine, but I hope that you're connected with your divine feminine. I hope you're connected to your emotions, right? Because it has nothing to do with your sexual preference or your gender roles. Gender is fundamental for physical manifestation and creation in nature and life, but it's also important for manifesting for us as lowercase gods. And so it's because everything has its own gestation period, right? After you've done all the work that you can in the physical, you have to allow the law of gender to do what it is. And so the law of gender is a law that belongs to spirit. It's a law that belongs to God. Because you think about what's happening in the gestation period when a seed is in the darkness of the soil, it grows down, the roots grows down. You don't even know what is happening. And so a lot of people, what do? We got to know everything. So we digging it up, or we're worrying. Every time we worry, every time we feel like we got to know or control it, we're literally dismantling and ruining everything that we just planted, because we don't trust in the very capable hands of the creator that is living through us. We somehow think that, oh, I'm the vehicle. Like, there's never a point where I get in my car and I think that I'm the car. I know that I'm the one driving the car.
Is that why Jesus said, take no thought for your life? Is that why Jesus said in the Bible, take no thought for your life?
Exactly. That's exactly why he said that, because it's understanding that your life is infinite. It's understanding that you have complete rest and trust in the divine, in law. And so every seed has its own gestation period. Humans are pregnant for 10 months. A salmon is only pregnant for 40 days. A whale is 16 months. I don't know what manifesting A, B, and C looks like, but oftentimes what we do is we say, okay, it can only happen in this way. So I'm going to get a job. I'm going to save up. And by this time, then I'll have this. So then I can do this. And it's like, what is the subconscious? What does God say? Okay, well, I actually got a better way, because my ways are past finding out. But if you don't want to trust that you could just believe in this, it is what it is that you want, and that it'll grow, and I will give you everything that you need, because the seed has everything that it needs. It has all the fruit that it will ever produce, all of the leaves for every season and cycle. That's us. We're the seed. So we don't want to be still and know that I am God. And so that is what rest is. This is what the law of gender is. And rest is not complacency at all. Like, because you have to be mindful, watchful, and aware, because you have to maintain that frequency. This is where Anubis comes in and guarding it. This is why Jesus said faith is the substance of things hoped for, looking for things unseen. People misinterpret the scripture and they say, oh, I'm supposed to hope. It's the substance of what it is that you're hoping for. So if I'm hoping for my divine love, right, my partner, I'm not supposed to be operating and walking out here if as if love hasn't found me. Because truth be told, and even in my experiences and in my book, I realized that, like, it's all me. The love that I feel for someone else is my own love. Like, nobody else can feel my feelings or think my thoughts. Like, so if I know what it feels like to be loved, then I need to get into that substance, because the law of gender in that gestation period is allowing yourself to get prepared for what it is that God has in store for you. And what do a lot of pregnant women do? They go and they buy clothes, they get the nursery ready. They are preparing all the things within their life, mentally, physically, emotionally. They got the car seat, they rehearsing. Some people, they go, taking classes, right? They're educating themselves. Like, so when it comes to the law of gender and you allowing God to rest, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing to prepare? Are you maintaining that frequency? Are you allowing it to happen? Or are you here worried about it and digging it up and not believing that it's going to happen? So, you know, when it comes to the law of gender, like, it's just tapping into those parts of you, understanding when it's required to be the hunter and the gatherer and when to allow things to be nurtured. And if you are constantly operating in your masculine, or if you're constantly operating in your feminine and they're not within balance, then you're not going to manifest. And that's exactly why is it 3 or 4 of the principles are actually dual in nature. You got cause and effect, you got polarity, you got correspondence, and gender. So 4 of the 7 of the laws, like, are dual in nature. And that was one of the things when I was getting into the 7 Hermetic Principles. I was like, okay, once I learn this, or once I go to heaven or go to the 5th or 4th dimension, then polarity is not going to be there. Like, it's not going to be in existence. And so I had to understand, even just mathematically, like, if you take away 0 or -1, then you can't have 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, it's how creation is, and it's what makes you a god. That's why there's a gift and a curse of having free will. If you misuse that, if you fall away from God and you misuse your intellect, or if you misuse your Eve emotions, then yeah, you'll have a fall from grace. This story can happen infinitely until you decide to maintain and stay in heaven. So I feel like I might be dating myself, but was a Jack Hedge. I was like, I feel like I've been kicked out of heaven. Like, we've all been knocked out of heaven and we're trying to get back. And in my way of getting back, I've discovered and experienced these principles. It's helped me resolve so many traumas or childhood just beliefs and experiences, and just allowing me to for my mind to fully be transformed, to tap into my divine feminine, to align my heart and my mind. Like, it's, I could really, really go on, but you know, like I said originally, to know the laws is to know how to play the game. And you know, I'm just trying to be gamed up and gassed up and ready to go. So, because when you stay ready,
you gave us a lot of information on how to play this game. See, I always tell the guests, I always take notes. I don't know if you can see that. You can't see that. But everything that you said, very well put. I have a question or something you said. Well, the word God. Why is there so much mystery surrounding that? When somebody say God. Oh my God. Like, you see what I mean? Like, if you say that you're a God out in public, like just the other day, I had a shirt on that said, I'm a God. And a cashier was like, no, you're not. And I'm like, what do you mean? So she goes, you're not a God. And I just start laughing. So it's like, why do you feel like people, when you say that, they get all bent out of shape about that?
It's so funny because I think it's a part of the programming, you know, like the in the Matrix, you know, the or even now people call it NPCs, right? So there's certain things that they can't compute or comprehend. It's the same thing that I experience when someone tries to tell me that I'm not indigenous, as if their opinion of me or my oppressor or oppositional forces approve, I'll take away from my genetic sovereignty and me actually having all the receipts like a Virgo would. Like, it is laughable, you know, like, and so that's why not everybody, not all of their 144,000 cells are going to be activated. Some people are still going to choose to stay
Wait,
asleep because
say that again. That's a
not
bomb
all
right
of
there. Say that again.
44,000 cells are going to be activated.
That's a bomb right there. That might go over some people's heads, but that was
Yeah,
that was a bomb.
so I'm like, okay. You know, my sis was telling me this morning because every morning I do about 6 miles on a bike ride. And we were talking just about relationships and stuff. And she was saying that, like, you know, you got to expect a dog to be a dog, like the natural behavior of an animal. Like, I have a teacup poodle, and sometimes I get mad at her for going in the kitchen, right? But I'm like, she's a dog, like, but I feel like she's a human, right? She should know better. So you got to expect a dog to be a dog and a snake to be a snake. And so once you understand that that's how, like Maya Angelou said, once you understand how a person is, believe them. Oftentimes we want to change that. And we say, we feel like we got to validate or prove or defend. And it's like, nah, a God sits on a throne, you know, like I'm a sacred woman as well. As Queen of Fu always says, you know, stay on your throne, like just your crown.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna fall into the distraction and the diversion and getting you to lower to that level. Because once you step off your crown, now you dealing with all the gestures and the fools. So as a female, as an emotional being, yes, I've fallen, right? From grace. We all have, right? We all have emotional moments, but when you become to be able to walk in your divine God being yourself, then yeah, you learn how to laugh off and just dust your shoulders off. Like, and I take it as like they don't know, but it's also not my job to educate and inform them. Because if the moment I feel like that, then that's my ego communicating. Because the God in me don't care about none of that.
I can definitely tell you're a poet. I noticed all the metaphors you said. I like that. I like that. So, okay. The 7 principles, you went over how to apply them to our lives. Beautiful. How do you feel about meditation? Does this go hand in hand with these principles?
Oh, absolutely. If someone were to ask me, how do I begin to use the laws and incorporate them? I would say the first thing that you should do is to, one, begin and to develop an awareness of your thoughts. Begin to develop an awareness of your thinking. So in my book specifically, I talk about, because it's really a guide. So what I did, my Virgo self, I developed this log in my phone. And so I, like, with 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. And every time I thought about that nigga, like I would put it in there. And so I would tally it up at the end of the day or end of the week. And I'd be like, oh my God, I spent 50 hours thinking about this man, more than I've spent at the job, more than I've spent doing whatever, right? And then that's where I started to develop an awareness of, and then that also allowed me to begin to see and understand the pattern of my thoughts and like at what times of the day they were more prevalent. So when it comes to meditation, that is allowing you to be in an awareness and a stillness of your thoughts. Meditation is not trying to not think about anything. Meditation is actually getting in tune with your breath, your heartbeat, your breathing. However, there's different breathing methods as you advance within it. But if you're just starting out, just breathe. Like, don't even, just breathe normally and begin to become an observer of what it is that you're thinking. Like, I'm a mother, so I can ignore and tune out my children. But I can still kind of hear them in the background. So when you're meditating and you develop that silence and that stillness, you kind of see your thoughts passing by, like, da, 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 da. Oh, you should be doing this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, so meditation, when I started out meditating, I'd say, oh, I just thought about that. Oh, I just thought about that. Not entertaining it, but acknowledging that I thought about that. And then sometimes I'd watch and see how long it lasts. And that then, because, quantum physics does tell us once we observe something, it changes its behavior. So the law of mentalism consciousness, once it's aware of itself, it's like it just locks in, like, and you have to just continuously practice it in that way. So that is what meditation is. It's the beginning of developing an awareness, so I would do it like in the morning. Every 5, I would start out slow. I try to do 3 minutes, and then I got to 5 and then 10. And I've actually hosted meditative retreats, silent meditative retreats. And I do guided, meditations and stuff with my sister circle. Because I think that is a very important practice when it comes to strengthening your mind and developing the law of mentalism.
Absolutely. How do you feel us as a people get back in tune with these principles?
I think the best way is to know that you are not separate from creator, that you are not separate from source. I think the first thing is to be still and to know that I am God. So that is developing a meditation, that is allowing yourself to ground back into the earth, into the elements, to the energy. Put your phone down. What Kendrick said, turn the TV off. Like, go on social media breaks. Like, have moments where you are fully being present in the moment. Like, especially with my children, even if you have people around you, friends, like, have moments where there is no phone, there's no, play games, board games, like, go back to basic things. Like, I have a 7-year-old niece, like, I be writing hot scotch in the chalk. I get back into play. I get back into being childlike. We do jump rope. We have a hula hoop contest. Like, I'm hella competitive, so I'm riding a bike. We out racing. Like, when was the last time you've done those things? We blowing bubbles. Like, we got kites. Like, I'm doing all of that because that is where you can begin to tap back into yourself and who you are, and to remember, because once you remember how to play the game, then game over.
What do you think that looks like if enough of us come back to these principles? Do you think it'd be more unity? How do our neighborhoods look?
I think that, our neighborhoods, our communities, we would understand the importance of generational knowledge, of having big mamas, right? Of the older generation teaching the younger generation, understanding that us, in terms of community and family, like, we indigenous, like, we don't put our families in nursing homes, and we don't rely on other people to take care of them, right? So we do things because we are one people. And when we get back into these laws, then there's going to be our way of living, our way of humanity. A lot of people talk about New Earth and what that looks like. Well, this is the rainbow bridge. The 7 Hermetic Principles are the rainbow bridge to this other side. And we have to cross this bridge by tapping in and tuning into ourselves. And once that happens, enough people on a global level, vibrationally, there will be a major shift, because we are vibrational beings and we are God manifested in the flesh, and God will not be satisfied until God realizes what it wants its own creation to do. Like if you're a seed and your job is to be intended to grow, you are going to eventually grow in this lifetime or the next. And so I'd rather grow now, because I ain't trying to come back to this bitch. Like, not this particular experience, and knowing that they've desecrated the land and that the water is sacred. Like, nah, I'm trying to be in tune and in harmony, and as within, so without. So if that's the kingdom of heaven, and that's where I'm trying to go within my mind, because death is no it's not an escape. Like, that's the law of mentalism, understanding that when we die, we have our same consciousness. Like a lot of people, they believe in putting up altars and like praying to their ancestors and asking people to intercede. Well, my grandma was married 7 times. So when it comes to relationships, I love you, grandma, but I am not about to ask you about give me no man advice. Like, you're an ancestor and all, but like, I know that my grandma she has discernment and she can detect bullshit. So I might ask my grandma to that genetic code and part of me, because my grandmother and I are still connected, even though she's just on another plane, but I still composed of that same energy as my soul family. So that's asking me to develop that part of my discernment as I'm communicating and corresponding with that energy that is all connected and a part of me. She's just transcended on another plane. So I feel like when we do that, then a lot of people talk about, activating parts of our DNA, as the sun, omits solar flares and what is this plasma and how it's impacting our blood and our melanin. Like all of that is an activation. But if your mind is activated and your mind is still out of control, what you gonna do? You're gonna put yourself right back in hell. You're gonna put yourself right back at start. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. I digress. I forget.
Very powerful, man. Like I said, I love stuff like this. I'm sure our fan base is definitely going to love this, because this needs to be talked about, because I don't think a lot of people go into this. I know all the Hebrew Israelites stand on the corner, and all this, that, the other, but they don't go into this. They're taking it too literal, and they're not going, and it's not to knock them or anything like that, but
absolutely not. Yeah.
They don't go into this. This is very important. Like everything you just said, like this is us manifesting the creator.
And that's all Jesus was saying. Like, I'm God manifested in the flesh. So, some people should go and watch the movie Avatar tonight with a different perspective. And
I love that movie.
Oh my gosh.
I love them. I can't wait for them to come out with the next one.
Me too, but I feel like this last one though, it kind of took away from the depth. I don't know. I might need to watch it again, but the last one I really wasn't. I don't know. Sometimes, with great storylines, like they either change writers or they can't finish, something happen, and you're like, within production and writers, y'all got something twisted.
Like The Matrix. I didn't like the last one. I did not like the last one.
Oh, definitely not. I was like, okay, this is just a money grab at this point. Like,
oh
yeah.
I didn't like the last one, but Phoenix was telling me that the last Avatar was about them coming together, I believe. That's what from her perspective, what she got out of it. They definitely need to remake it. Not remake, but do another one.
Yeah, I heard that too, but I just didn't like the way in which they came together. Like, I don't know. I think that there is a part of integration or revelation that happens in the mind of man, but it's not on a compromise. It's actually on a true ascension and doing the work and like going through it. So I just felt like it was I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna have to watch it again, but it just felt like it was kind of compromising. At least that's what I felt from it. So,
Do you have anything that you're promoting? Like, you have any new books coming out? Tell the people how they can reach you, although it's on their screen. Some people don't look at the screen, but
yeah, absolutely. So y'all can check me out. I am on TikTok and I am on YouTube. I have about 34 YouTube videos on there right now. And my commitment to staying committed to myself and my purpose is to put out a video at least, if not every week, every other week. So I've been consistent these past couple months. I did a whole breakdown of Jesus and the 12 disciples as it pertains to the 12 zodiacs and the 12 faculties of your mind. It's all the same thing, same story, and how it also correlates and corresponds to the elements as well as each planet, as each zodiac sign is governed by a different planet. These are all planetary energies, just explaining how you, within your 12 faculties of your mind, how you work, because Jesus and the 12 disciples is himself. It's a little schizo story, if you want to ask me.
I think it's beautiful poetry. It is beautiful poetry. I love the Bible. I mean, a lot of people,
Absolutely.
when you talk about it like this, I love the Bible. I read it daily. And I think the way you break it down, y'all have to go check her out on TikTok. Are you on Facebook?
I am, but I'm not really active on Facebook and Instagram. So to catch my live everyday content, it would be YouTube and TikTok, and like full on conversations and discussions. Definitely YouTube channel. So
Now, what is your YouTube?
it is SatRah Anuket. Yep, there it is up there.
Okay, perfect. So the people definitely have to check you out. Y'all have to. She drops fire. I knew exactly when I saw you on the thing. I'm like, oh, we got to get her on the show. We definitely
I
have to.
appreciate you and your queen as well. So y'all are dope.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. So with that being said, we thank you all for coming out. You could be anywhere else in the world. See, I got the Jay-Z reference too. I noticed all the Jay-Z references you were dropping. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with us. We definitely appreciate that. We have a lot coming up. We have t-shirts coming out, like this cup that I'm drinking from. All you always ask me what I'm drinking. It's water. It's tea. They always ask me like about my cups and stuff like that. Yeah, we got these coming soon. Hats, shirts. Definitely hit up my sister Kiana. She makes these. She makes shirts, hats, whatever. So with that, we're going to end it. We definitely want to bring you back. You're definitely welcome here at Peace Pipe TV. Definitely, I can hear her in the back saying, "Oh, I like her. I like her." I don't know if you can hear her, but I can. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Make sure y'all check the sister out. Most definitely. With that, we're going to say peace, and as we say here, Osio Halito.
Peace out. Ashe.